of female sports fans. Category one is you have to bribe them in order for you to be able to watch sports. Here, honey, here's a $1.50. Go get yourself a mani, petty, treat yourself. I need 4 hours Saturday afternoon. Category two is that she enjoys the social element of sports. Okay, she likes tailgating. She likes Super Bowl parties. She may even get into her team's biggest games. But if she's a Clemson fan, she really doesn't give a rip if South Carolina's playing Kentucky. Okay? Yeah. And category three is she's a Clemson fan. You ask her if she wants to go to a movie, and she's a Clemson fan. And she says, "Are you nuts? South Carolina's playing Kentucky. I am not going anywhere." That's what a category three is. Now, my wife tells me, ladies and gentlemen, my wife tells me that she is a category two. All right. Now, I met her late November 2021. So that season doesn't really count because, as you know, like the regular season is pretty much over around or after Thanksgiving. At least it was for Clemson last year after South Carolina put them in a body bag. So last year I was engaged to my now wife, but I was still living separately. I'm gonna tell my wife, I'm gonna say, "Angela, sweetie, you look beautiful today, like you do every day, but we're gonna determine this year what number you really are, because now I'm living with you. Okay? Are you really a category two? Might you be a 2.5 or a 1.5 or gasp, even a 1? Even a 1. My mom is a 1. What category of Alex Rose says, "Please stop singing"?
Yeah. Well, at least they're outside of it. They could turn it down. I can't. I'm here live in the earphones. I got stereo.
You're saying at least they have a way to get away from me.
I have to listen.
And you do not. You do not. I love that.
I know. Beautiful singing. Beautiful singing.
I love that you are stuck there, my man. I love that you are stuck right there with us. So that is a tradition each and every year that we do, folks. What category? Just by a number. I figure if you shoot us a number on the carpro.com text line, you can't get in trouble for this, right? What category of female sports fan is your wife? All right. Is she a category one, which means you have to bribe her in order to watch sports?
Yep.
She is a category two, which means she doesn't know what's going on, but she kind of plays along, and she likes tailgating and Super Bowl parties. She likes the social element of sports. Or is she a category three, which might mean she's more hardcore than even you? Now, I will tell you guys, if I asked you guys, Odie, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What category, given our jobs, would you feel would be best for me? Category 1, 2, or 3?
I'd say it'd have to be 3.
You'd have to be 3.
Yeah.
And you'd have to be wrong.
Oh, okay.
And here's the reason.
Go on.
Here's the reason. I like to unplug a bit.
Yeah.
Right? And with a 3, if you work in sports media and you're married to a 3, you don't have that luxury. Like she's getting off her regular job, and then all she's thinking about is sports. And I'm getting off my regular job, and a few hours a day, I could use a break from sports. Honestly, I'm not one of these guys that's like tethered to my phone all day because I got to see everything going on in sports. That's not me. I love to do a sports show. I love sports. College football is my number 1. NFL is my number 2. Soccer's probably my number 3. But I'm not one of these guys that like dreams it. You know what I mean? I can't actually remember the last dream I had about sports.
Okay.
So for me, category 2 is kind of where I have to have it. Category 1 is just not going to work because she's not understanding or accepting or supportive of what you do. Category 3 for me is a little bit exhausting. Category 2, I feel like, is kind of money.
If you had a 3, though, if you had a category 3, they could share the workload a little bit. It could be you could bounce something off her, like
that's also true.
Hey, honey, I was going to talk about this today. Do you think it'd be interesting? And then she turned to you and give you a slap and say, "No, Do not.
Well, Odie, you just said bounce something off her, and I want you to know this is a family show. So if you can, eyes up here. Eyes up here. Okay. Please, Odie, do that for me today. Odie,
Yeah.
your lovely wife. What category is she?
Oh, she'd be minus about 4.
Oh
No, it's a good thing.
-4.
Yeah. Oh, easily. When
so
it comes
if you
to
were
sports.
to watch football, she's busting your coconuts.
No. If I was watching, like, so, Ireland played England last weekend.
Sure.
Myself and my boy watched it, and Ireland's call, if anybody knows, it's the Irish rugby anthem that came on. My boy started singing along with it. I started crying. Being 3,500 miles away from home, and you're hearing 51,000 fans singing Ireland's call, it'll get you. It just.
Can you, because I sang in this first segment, Odie, can you do me the honors of singing Ireland's call?
No, because I'm not going to put the lovely listeners through that.
Do not tell me that you don't know the words.
Oh, I do.
If it made you cry, you very clearly know the words,
Oh,
Odie.
yeah, I do.
So this is interesting, folks. And we all have like these little nervous behaviors. And when you work in this business and you're on camera, right, which we are right now, you notice the nervous behaviors. Odie started to do this little wiggle in his chair a little bit.
That's the ADD kicking in.
That's the ADD kicking in.
Yeah.
Okay. So Odie, can we hear just a wee bit of the Irish call? What does it sound like for the people in the back?
Well, it's like a hard chant. Well, it's not really a chant. It's come the minute, come the hour, come the power and the glory, and we all together standing tall. The 4 proud provinces of Ireland. And that's it. That's all you're getting.
That's not bad. That's actually not bad. I'm actually kind of down with that, man.
Yeah. So we all of the rugby teams have their own chant. The English rugby team have their one. It's not the anthem. It's your rugby anthem. They all have it. You've probably heard that the All Blacks do the haka. It's a war dance that they do, and it's highly respected.
New Zealand.
That's New Zealand. Yeah.
Okay. Who's the best rugby in the world? Who's number 1? Is it New Zealand? Is it Australia?
It'd be last year. It was New Zealand. It would be a throw up between South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, and Ireland.
Okay,
that's the 4.
And how often do they have the World Cup, or what's the title of rugby called?
The World Cup. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
the World Cup.
Yeah.
How often do they have that?
You have the World Cup every 4 years, or is it 3 years? 3 years. 4
and when's
years.
the next one?
It is. I want to say next year. I think. Cannot remember because I'm getting ready for the Six Nations now. Six Nations is England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, France, and Italy.
And why do you think rugby isn't a big deal here?
I honestly don't know. I really don't know. It is one of those things. I watch it on Peacock. We have Peacock, the subscription service, and I can watch the games live on that.
Oh, Peacock is poppycock to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they show NFL and they show some other stuff. So it's a nice way. It's a segue to get into watching the games for me, and it is that I can keep up with my games back home. But I don't know. I just think it was never really. Maybe because it's an English sport, maybe it wasn't really, although soccer is over here. So
I think, you know what I think it is? Like, can I ask you guys, why do you think rugby isn't a big deal here? Because it feels like it's a more manly version of our football, but we don't like anything that tries to one up us. So we just ignore it because we think our football is better. It's very similar to football.
Maybe
you got a ball, you kick field goals.
Yeah, well, conversions, but yeah. There was a game that they tried to replicate in Ireland once, and I think it was a USA team. It wasn't any specific NFL team. It wasn't any particular kind of group of guys. I think they made an all-star team, and they made the rules a little bit halfway between rugby and halfway between American football, and they put them together. And Ireland, it was the Irish team, and they hammered them. I think it was 106-4 or something like that.
Wow.
But there was no pads. They might have had body pads, no helmets. And it was just, it didn't work because obviously the Americans, you can grab the ball and run and keep running. And you can pass forward. You can throw the ball forward? Can you?
Yes. You can throw the ball forward, okay?
Yeah.
But only behind the line of scrimmage. Okay. Once you pass the line of scrimmage where the play started, you can't throw the ball forward anymore. You can only throw the ball backwards.
Oh, okay. So if it started on, well, for argument's sake, say it started on the 50-yard line, then you can only
You can throw forward so long as you are standing behind the 50-yard line.
So you can get to can you walk up to the 50-yard line? Well, run up to the 50-yard line, throw it as hard as you can, and you make up yardage then, or
so long as your entire body isn't past the 50-yard line.
Gotcha.
Then you can throw the ball forward. If you are past the 50-yard line, you can only throw the ball backwards. Right?
So and that's the thing with rugby is you cannot even slightly throw the ball forward. If you're throwing to the guy that's almost right beside you,
directly lateral.
No, yeah, that's the thing. You cannot. He has to be at least one step behind you.
One step behind.
Yes. Now you can kick forward. You can kick. There's an actual a special kick called a Garryon kick, where you can kick it forward. You run, kick the ball, and you run after the ball and catch the ball that you kicked.
How about that?
And that's when you can do that.
What happens if you fail to do that?
If you fail to do it, chances are you might pick it up. One of the other guys might pick it up. No, you get nothing if you do it. It's just you get the respect of your peers if you do it, because it's not easy to do. You have to kick it, get through everybody, and then pick up.
They can also catch the ball.
And they can catch the ball.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah.
All right, guys. We never knew you were going to get a rugby lesson here on the show today. What category of female sports fan is your wife? And if you are among the many women in our listening audience who are tuning in, what category are you? If I'd be interested in anybody who's got a category 1 wife, how in the hell you make that work? Like, how could you be listening to this show, have enough interest in sports to be listening to this show, and then have it work with somebody that you have to bribe to watch sports with? Or like you got to complete the honeydew list before you're allowed to watch any sports. Like, it could never be me, but I respect the hell out of it if it's you. All right. 71307. Cam from Boiling Spring. Cam from Boiling Springs says, my wife is a category 0, and it's miserable, man. It's miserable. See, Cam didn't have to put his name on that, but he did. But you know why he's going to be okay, Odie? Because there's no way a category 0 would be tuning in to out Cam.
No.
There's no way there's no way she would be here. Cam says it's miserable. Whatever is below category 1, if there is such a thing, she is that. And Cam says it's miserable. Cam, how do you make it work? How do you make it work? I want to know what you're thinking. Tell me what's on your mind.
Oh, he's singing again. Sorry. Did I say that out loud?
We've got Cole Bryson coming your way next on high school football. The week that will be, is it finally week 1? It is week 1. And it's beautiful. Next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere, it's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel with Odie sitting at Admirably, and we are the Fan Upstate. Here to tell you guys about my great friends at Mr. Sparky of the Upstate. Why are they our great friends? Well, folks, I got to be real with you. The wifey and I run late a lot of times. We try to give ourselves a 15-minute window. I do a little trick with my wife where if we've got to be somewhere at 2:30, I tell her we got to be there at 2. Then we show up at 2:30. Works out. We're on time. She never It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel. We are the Fan Upstate. Rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. this evening. Fantastic to have you guys with us. We've got Heisman Trophy voter Brent Beard joining us at 4 o'clock. And joining us right now is the host of the Saturday Scramble, which can be heard every single Saturday morning right here on the Fan Upstate from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Now, Cole Bryson joins us on Monday with a recap of the weekend that was, and he gives us his brand spanking new top 10. He'll also let us know what changes that have been in the top 10. Who has fallen, who's dropped, maybe some new entrants. On Friday, Cole Bryson joins us to preview the weekend's action, and he's on the line right now. Cole, we opened today with a little discussion of the categories of female sports fans. I said, Cole, there are 3. Category 1 is you have to bribe them in order to watch sports. Here, honey, here's $150. Go get a mani-pedi. I need 4 hours to watch the games. Category 2 is she enjoys the social element of sports. She likes tailgating. She likes Super Bowl parties. But if she's a Clemson fan, she really doesn't give a rip if South Carolina's playing Kentucky. And category 3 is you ask her to go to a movie. She's a Clemson fan. She says, "Are you nuts? South Carolina's playing Kentucky. I'm not going anywhere." Okay? Now, Cole, what do you think is the best category to date Cole Bryson?
Mark, that's a great question. I think it would probably have to fall in somewhere around 2. And the reason I say that is, and you tell me your opinion here, because you're married now as well. But look, I don't mean as well. I'm not married, but you tell me your opinion on this, Mark. I don't think there's anything worse than getting asked 100 questions about the Braves or Clemson while you're watching the game, right? So I think I don't want 3. I don't want 1. I think I'd probably fall in between somewhere 1 and 2, maybe. Obviously, I want to be at the games and go to the games, but man, at the same time, again, I'd like to hear your opinion as well. There's nothing worse than being, asked 100 questions while you're trying to watch the game and having to all of a sudden become a professional sports analyst and describe the whole game and why the field goal posts are yellow.
Yeah. Cole, look, I said the exact same thing. I said 2 is the money. Okay. One is just not going to work. All right. It's not going to work. 3 could work, but it's a little draining. I picked 2 over 3, Cole, for that reason, because look, man, because I do this for a living, believe it or not, Cole, I actually like to have a few hours without sports here and there. And with a category 3, she might have a normal job. She gets off work. All she wants to do is talk sports. I get off work. Hey, man, you want to watch the Goonies? No, the baseball game's on. I want to watch the Goonies. I want to watch Ferris Bueller. There's no break from it.
So, Mark, obviously you're recently married. How are the questions? I mean, are you experiencing a lot of questions or no?
No, she has told me before, Cole, that she's a category 2. However, Cole, this is my first football season living with her. We will be the judge of that as we go through the season. Okay? If I get yelled at for watching too much football, then we're trending more towards the 1.5 or 1 category, which would not be a good development. Okay.
Well, how about this? This fall, since it's your first fall living together, how about I invite you to a high school game, and you and her stepson, whoever, y'all come to the high school game and experience that. It's got to be a big game, though. It's got to be a good game, 2 big powerhouse teams, and then we'll see, where she falls in after experiencing her first high school game.
Oh, that sounds great, Cole. Count me in, buddy. Count me in. All right, Cole Bryson.
I like it.
Set the table with us, my friend. What are the biggest games coming up this week?
There are several, Mark. Spartanburg's going down to Columbia to play Dutch Fork. Spartanburg, again, it's kind of like we talked about on Monday. Spartanburg is a good team, but 1 week sample size is not much to go off of. So you don't really know what you have with these teams quite yet. Spartanburg, had a 2-point loss to South Point last week, but Dutch Fork, who is the powerhouse, they lost in not a good fashion last week to Colquitt County out of Georgia, a powerhouse down there out of Georgia. So we'll see. Spartanburg has a chance to be really good this year. Their coach, Mark Hodge, went on Twitter before the season and kind of, he spread the table, if you will, and said, hey, this is one of the best teams that I've ever coached, the fastest team I've ever coached. So he set high expectations for his team. And then Greenville TL Hanna, that's another big one, them coming off of a loss, them coming off of a win last week, did Greenville over Dorman. That's a big game. And then Burns Chapman, I know a lot of people are probably thinking that Burns, that game might get out of hand, and it may. However, I will say this. Remember 2 years ago when Burns went to Inman and played Chapman, it was one of the best high school games in the area for the whole season. It was back and forth, track meet style, high scoring. So that game has really good potential to be good tonight as well. I think there's several good options, Mark. But I think Spartanburg Dutch Fork is the most interesting because we'll really see how good Spartanburg is.
Texter says, hell yeah, glad to have Cole back. Big Cole Bryson guy over here. You got fans over this way.
I'm glad I have one.
Yeah. One more than I have, Cole. One more than I have. So, Cole, so Dutch Fork losing to the team from Georgia. What is that? Is that a referendum on the caliber of football played in South Carolina? If so, is it a bad one?
Well, Mark, that's a great question. Georgia goes to 7A. So Georgia's enrollment size is a lot bigger than the 5A schools in Spartanburg. So the athletes they have to pull from, obviously they have a bigger pool when it comes to getting their athletes and getting them to play a sport. But I will say that statement's not far off. I mean, I think Georgia football, high school football, even when you get down toward Florida, you know that very well. I think the more you get closer to Florida, the athletes are just on every corner. I saw that in Texas last year, being out there for a year. But I mean, I don't think South Carolina football is much lesser of a product than Georgia high school football. But if I had to go overall, Mark, South Carolina head to head versus Georgia, I'd probably say Georgia does have the better high school football.
Cole, on that front, but the whole time, my entire youth, there were three big states in high school football. Three big states for producing college football talent. You don't need me to tell you what they are: California, Texas, and Florida.
Right.
Is Georgia now, and buoyed by the Bulldogs' success at the SEC level, are they now threatening to knock one of those three off of the medal stand?
Well, you know what? I think they're threatening Florida because if Kirby Smart and those guys are able to drive 200, 300 miles south, and again, they may be threatening California and Texas as well, but I think the proximity with Florida and Georgia, I think Georgia absolutely, and Kirby Smart especially with that program, I think, I don't think there's a state that coach and that coaching staff as a whole, I don't think there's a state they can't go in and get a player out of. So, yeah, I mean, I think Georgia's absolutely rivaling Florida. Now, Florida may have the overall the better athletes, Mark, and the faster kids. I think they've always been known for their speed in Florida, but Georgia's certainly up there.
Are you going to be keeping track of your record predictions this year, Cole? That would be great. I want to compare you to what Rob Jones did last year.
Yes, I have been on. Well, I did on week 0. I went 16-7. Not a good week for me. 2021, my last year picking. I don't know if I got lucky or what, but I absolutely blew it out of the park and had a great, phenomenal season. I think over 700, 700 batting average, which was phenomenal. But 16-7 in week 0. We'll see tonight, Mark. There are a couple iffy ones, but I hope I can be a little bit better than 16-7 tonight.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. So with that said, I think some might be surprised that you have Dutch Fork and Spartanburg as such a close game. I'm seeing a score, Cole, of 28-24 for this one. Dutch Fork's not used to having a lot of those type of games. Is this Spartanburg being better or Dutch Fork coming back down to the pack a little bit?
Well, I think it could be a little bit of both, Mark. And again, we'll get to the rest of the games here in a second. But talking about Spartanburg, Dutch Fork, they played twice last year. At the very beginning of the season, Spartanburg played Dutch Fork really well, and it was a really close game. at the end of the season, Dutch Fork ended the season for the Vikings, and it was not close at all. So I do think it could be a little bit of both. I think Spartanburg's better. I do think they have to get a lot better on the offense, especially on the offensive line. But I think, Mark, to your point, I think Dutch Fork has come down to earth a little bit as well.
Very, very interesting. So the state is ripe for the picking. If you were going to pick the 5A state champion right now, Cole, who would it be?
Ooh, that's a great question. Here's the deal.
I caught you, Cole.
You did. It's a good question. And I'll try to narrow it down to one, but I have to talk myself through it. I would obviously say Dutch Fork, you got to beat the man to be the man. So Dutch Fork's still the man. They hadn't lost to a South Carolina school in quite some time. I believe
Gaffney beat him. Gaffney, yep.
In 2021. But I tell you what, Mark, just from the small sample size we have, in my opinion, may change in 6 weeks, but Dutch Fork and Burns, to me, kind of right now seem like the two favorites. And, 3 weeks from now, we may have a better gauge on which one of those looks like the top dog. But the deal is, Dutch Fork, they're not playing in this region week in and week out. They're not playing Spartanburg. They're not playing Dorman. They're not playing Bowling Springs in the Northwesterns. They're in Columbia, and the football down there is still good, but this region is the toughest region in the state. So Burns will be once they get to region play, Burns will be more tested. Burns' non-region schedule is pretty weak this year, but the region is very tough. So if Burns or whoever comes out of this region, whether it be Burns or Gaffney or Spartanburg, I do think those teams have a chance. But right now, I think Burns and Dutch Fork are both at the top.
So I have said something similar about Clemson, Cole. I've said, look, I don't think the ACC does a great job of getting Clemson ready for the kind of competition they're going to face in the college football playoff. Would you go as far as to say that the high school in the Columbia area is like the All Cupcakes Conference, the ACC, and the upstate is like the SEC?
Well, that's a good question. And Mark, I will be careful on how I answer this because I want to preface by saying the Dutch Fork teams that have won the state championship over the past, it seems like a decade now, most of those teams, Mark, have been so good that it didn't matter if they were playing in Columbia or Charleston or the upstate, they would have won state regardless. However, there is a little bit of validity to that in terms of having to go through the gauntlet. I mean, to your point, if Clemson was in the SEC when they won it with Trevor Lawrence just a few years ago, would they have been in that position to playing for a national championship? Maybe not. Same thing with Dutch Fork. If they're up here, yes, they're probably still going to be contending, but they're having to go through the toughest region week in or year in and year out. So, some things may happen where they're not in position to win it every year like they did, it seems like, for, almost a decade now. So I think that's a great question.
Greenville and TL Hanna. Greenville, a lot of folks are wondering, is this their year to take the next step? There's a great one here in the upstate.
Yeah, TL Hanna last week, they did not really look all that impressive over Bowling Springs. Again, a lot of that has to do with how well Bowling Springs played and how much they improved in year 2 under Matt Reel. But I think this is a great opportunity for Greenville to start 2-0. And in fact, I'd even go out on a limb, Mark, and say if Greenville doesn't beat TL Hanna, it's a pretty big disappointment because we talked about it on Monday. They've been so close to getting over the hump. And if you want to get over the hump, you've got to beat teams like TL Hanna. I know they're in a different classification. They're 5A, Greenville's 4A. But if you want to be the man in 4A, you got to go out and beat TL Hanna. Don't have a letdown, like South Carolina playing Alabama back in 2008 and then playing Kentucky or Vandy the next week and losing, by 20 points or whatever it was. You can't have that letdown game that we see so much at the college level. They've got to continue to build on that this week against the Yellow Jackets.
I'll tell you guys what, I can see Cole Bryson's predictions, but you cannot. And we were blessed, Cole, to have our first high school athlete of the week winner to this week, KJ Proctor from Chesney. Based on the score that I'm seeing, Cole, you're not predicting he's going to win that twice in a row.
I don't think so, Mark. We talked about the first question you asked was the best games, and I left Broome Chesney out by accident. Broome Chesney tonight, that's a great game. Chesney played fantastic last week, but what Broome has at the quarterback and running back positions, I think Lynn Fleming and the Centurions are primed for a really good year and probably able to finish second in the region. KJ Proctor, who was a phenomenal interview on your show, by the way.
Thanks, pal.
They're gonna have their hands full tonight. However, I just think Broome's too much for them tonight.
Yeah, very, very interesting. So Cole, if we fast forward to Monday, okay, what can you? I like to do this on Friday of college football weekends. What is predict a headline that we'll all be saying about high school football on Monday? What's a Monday headline about this week going to be?
That's a great question, Mark. I would probably say if I had to choose one headline, it would probably be that Burns is really, really, really good, like for real, because I think Burns will end up pulling away from Chapman tonight, and I think Burns will it could get ugly. I think Burns has the firepower to pull away and really make a mess of it tonight. If I had to predict one headline, it would probably be Monday. We're sitting here saying, man, this Burns team is really good. Chapman's a good team, by the way. They are 3A. They don't have the depth and the numbers that Burns has, but if I had to predict that headline you're asking me about, Mark, I think Monday we're sitting here talking about how good Burns looks so far.
Cole Bryson, the host of the Saturday Scramble, 8 to 10 a.m. every single Saturday morning during the high school football season. You, of course, can hear it right here on the Fan Upstate, and you can follow Cole Bryson on Twitter. Oh, yes, you can. Cole, remind us of your Twitter handle.
At the Cole Bryson. Pretty easy.
There you go. That is where you get to Cole. Cole, great to have you back. Our audience feels like it's great to have you back. We're excited to have you back in the saddle, my man. Have a great night. Enjoy week one, and have a great season on the Saturday Scramble. We'll talk to you Monday.
Thanks, Mark. I look forward to it.
All right, take care. At the real Cole Bryson for Cole. To get to him, how about that? Who is your 5A state champion? To be the man, you got to beat the man. There's a caveat there. But, Burns is right there, nipping on them heels. When we come back, my friends, I'm going to unveil my relegation system for you in college football moving forward. All right? My ideas are incredible and should be adopted by all of you immediately. That's next here on Offsides, the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel. Odie sitting in right here on the Fan upstate. Fantastic to have Cole Bryson back in the saddle. Texter says, my wife hits the sweet spot where she understands the rules but needs help situationally, i.e. college football implications. That's very, very good. I would say, Texter, that's a solid 2.5 there. Texter says, my wife is a 0 but is fine with me being a 10. No, that's not how it works, Texter. If there is no 0, okay? But if you are a 1, if she's a 1, that means she's not fine with your sports watching, okay? Like the category 1 is you have to bribe her in order for you to watch sports, right? So if she's fine with you watching sports, she's not a 1 or she's not a 0, okay? 1 means that she's got a problem with your sports. Okay. 1 means she's not going to watch it with you. She doesn't like it. And she drops like my mom does on my dad when my mom calls me in August every year. Mark, I'm about to lose your dad for 4 months again. Do you hear that, Armand? I'm about to lose your dad for 4 months. You know, like if she gives you a hard time about your sports watching and she doesn't like it herself, that is a category 1. If she's cool with it, she's definitely not a category 1. There you go.
What is it? What would it be? What category is it if they're just completely blasé about it? Like that's what I was going to say about my wife when I said she was a -4 on the sports watching. If she just looks at me and she's like, whatever, you do what you like, doesn't really care if I do watch it, could very happily sit down in the living room and watch it with me, not really comment on it, maybe the odd time say, okay, who's winning? You know, like what category is that?
Oh,
is that like, I don't know.
I think that's a 2.
Would that be?
I think that's a solid 2 because she's not putting up any roadblocks for you.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. And she might watch it with you, you know, and she might have a good time at a tailgate, right?
I'm sure. Yeah,
that is a category 2, my friend.
Alrighty,
that is most definitely a category 2.
I'll tell the wife she's a football fan, Mark too.
That's a great way to be. That is a great way to be. Okay, guys, I want to share with you my idea for college football. All right, and I've got a lot of them. But I believe with all of the turmoil and all of the change going on right now in college football, we have the chance to incorporate promotion and relegation. Now, promotion and relegation is a soccer term that some of you understand, but many of you do not. And it stems from the English Premier League and other leagues, where in the EPL, which is abbreviated for English Premier League, every single year, the bottom 3 teams from the top minor league, so look at it like AAA, right? The top 3 teams from AAA get promoted to the big leagues. And the bottom 3 teams from the big leagues get demoted to AAA. Now, I hear over and over again, halfway through the college football season, and it could happen to me this year with the Florida Gators, man, I've got nothing left to cheer for. You know, my team stinks. My team is 3-4. There's 5 games left. I don't really know what to cheer for anymore. I waited all offseason for this, and it stinks, and it's not fun. So if you had promotion and relegation and your team was 3-4, you're absolutely watching every single game the rest of the way. Why? Because you want to make sure your team does not get relegated. Now, as we have not had this exist in America, I think you roll it out gradually. Okay? Baby steps to promotion and relegation. So here's what I propose, my friends. All right? Especially when all this dust settles on conference realignment. All right? We have natural fits in terms of pro leagues and minor leagues with the Power 5 conferences and the Group of 5 conferences. All right? I advocate that the American be the minor league of the Big 12. I recommend that the MAC be the minor league of the Big 10. It's the same geographical area. I recommend that the Sun Belt be the minor league of the SEC and that Conference USA be the minor league of the ACC. The Pac-12 is now cooked. You can take them out of the oven. They're done. And I don't know what to do with the Mountain West, because the Mountain West would be the feeder system for the Pac-12, but they no longer exist. I propose, my friends, that the bottom team in all of the Power 5 conferences get demoted, and the conference champion from the group of 5 leagues, get promoted. 1 team per year. Not 3, 1. So, Appalachian State wins the Sun Belt. Congratulations, you're now an SEC member. So long as you don't finish in last in the SEC the following year, you get to remain in the SEC. Vanderbilt, oh, how did I know it was going to be you? I'm so sorry to hear that you finished in dead-ass last place. You are getting demoted to the Sun Belt. If you want to make it back to the SEC, you have got to win the Sun Belt. And I'm not so sure that you will. You know, if Vanderbilt was in the Sun Belt, how many years would they win that conference? Right? Rutgers might get demoted from the Big Ten. How many years would Rutgers win the MAC? Every single year? I'm not so sure they would. Right? Who are the dregs of the Big 12? Let's say before expansion. Right? Well, it's been Kansas, but Kansas is a wee bit better now. Like, I don't know, West Virginia, somebody like that. How many years would West Virginia win the American? I don't know. The American has Tulane and UTSA. It's a pretty good league there, right? So what do you guys think? What do you make of my promotion and relegation idea? This is change we can believe in, ladies and gentlemen, and it's time to incorporate this right now. I'm looking into the camera on our YouTube page, all right? The Fan Upstate on YouTube, and I'm saying, who's coming with me? I'm Marc Ryan, and I approve this message. Give us promotion and relegation in college football, and give us promotion and relegation in college football now. Odie, is this change you can believe in?
I believe in change all the way. Let's make football great again.
That's it. Well, I think, by the way, Diesel does a much better Trump impression. If that was a Trump impression.
Oh, no, that was just generic president.
Okay.
That's all that was.
Ladies and gentlemen, no objections here? No objections whatsoever? We're good with rolling forward with promotion to relegation in college football? You down with that? It's a great idea. I mean, admit it to me. Marc Ryan, you just came up with a great idea that should be adopted by everyone immediately. Oh, Mark, they'll never go for it. Who won't? The team that got kicked out? Don't suck. Don't be last place, right? It's that simple. You don't want to get bumped down to the bottom league? Don't be last. It's quite simple to me. ACC would work with the Conference USA, Sun Belt with the SEC, Big 10 with the MAC, Big 12 with the American. You can tell me, Marc Ryan, that'll never happen, and I think you're going to be wrong. We talk college football with Heisman Trophy voter Brent Beard, and we do it next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel Odie sitting in, and we are the Fan Upstate. Is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel. Odie sitting in, and we are the Fan Upstate rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. You guys know it because he is the one guest that gets no break. He rolls with us Friday at this time, rain or shine, in season, off season. You know, we have these weekly guests during football season, and Brent Beard certainly is one of those. And then some of them say to me, Mark, I'm happy to keep doing this in the off season, and I move away from that with all but one person. It is our Heisman Trophy voter. It is our favorite Heisman Trophy voter because he is our only Heisman Trophy voter. Brent Beard joins us right now on the show. So good to have you with us, friend. Diesel is on his honeymoon. I have implored Diesel not to go on his honeymoon as 2 and come back as 3. So I've implored him that. We will see, Brent, if he listened to me. How are you, sir?
Well, I'm doing well. We're around the just waiting with bated breath for tomorrow, and then certainly for next week. We have made it. People should be celebrating that. Also, in the notes that we share, speaking of Diesel, did you see the most popular wedding date of the year?
Well, I'm about to talk to you about that. I'm about to talk to you about that in a minute, Brent. But first, let's get to this Navy and Notre Dame. And I'm seeing, Brent, that it is a very trendy pick to take Navy and 20.5 points over Notre Dame. And I want to tell you why I would take Notre Dame against that spread. Those kinds of offenses, those triple option offenses, can beat you or scare you when you have no prep time.
Right.
But I've seen it over and over again when Paul Johnson was at Georgia Tech. You know, they had a really good season. They played LSU in the Peach Bowl and got steamrolled. Why? Because LSU had a month to prepare for that. Notre Dame's had an entire offseason to prepare for that. I'm looking at this line, 20.5 points. I'm seeing Navy projected as a team below the top 100 in terms of overall ranking. Notre Dame is number 13 in the country. And I'm saying, well, Notre Dame can't beat a team outside the top 100 by 3 touchdowns. Why couldn't they, Brent? Where do you see this one?
Look, I mean, I think that 3 touchdowns is probably about right. Frankly, what you see so far in Notre Dame is I think an improvement within the line of scrimmage. That certainly is what they needed to do. You're on point, as usual, about the preparation. Now, I don't think Notre Dame will get caught up in the being in Ireland and the atmosphere and the environment and all that. I think they'll be ready to play, and I can see this, particularly with the coaching change at Navy, that they will. That's going to take an adjustment for them. Sam Hartman, that people have not heard, have gone from Wake Forest to Notre Dame. I think that will help them tremendously with the passing attack. So, I mean, look, it could be first game jitters a little bit. They can make some mistakes, but I think probably 3 touchdowns is fairly safe here. And frankly, Mark, wouldn't be surprised if it's more.
Really, really interesting stuff there. Navy against Notre Dame. What do you see, Brent, as the key for slowing down that triple option offense? Like, what do you have to do? I hear words like discipline, gap responsibility. It just seems, like when you have a good line and you run that style of offense and you realize that you only need to get 2.5 yards of play to get a first down and 4 downs, it seems very difficult to stop that.
It is. I don't care how much time you have to prepare for it. It can still be rather tough. I think what you've got to be able to do, the coaches will tell you when you're, and this used to be the old wishbone philosophy, which is basically the same thing, is don't get involved with the eye candy. See, this was what gave Gus Malzahn some success when he was at Auburn is you would have players going everywhere, and the teams that were able to beat them were able to focus in on who they were matched up against, or at least an area. But you've got to be able to deal with your fullback, and you've got to be able to deal with your quarterback if you can deal with both of them in the early on. And the other thing is would be Notre Dame's defensive line overpowering Navy's offensive line. I think that is a estimate of what may be going on. I mean, last year Notre Dame held Navy to 3 of 11 on third down. Not saying they'll do that this year, but they've certainly seen them before. But it's going to be fascinating to see in the Notre Dame play with who they've got left on the schedule and where this team could go this coming season. I'm not really in agreement with a lot of folks who think Notre Dame could be a playoff team. I just don't think they're ready for that under Freeman. They may be in a few years more, but I don't think they are right now.
Brent, Odie here, filling in for Diesel. Do you think that the game is going to be a home game for Notre Dame? I mean, you've got a 51-seat capacity stadium. You've got 40,000 Americans have travelled to Ireland for the game, and the majority of those are the Notre Dame fans. And of course, it's a synonymous Fighting Irish game. So any of the Irish fans that are going to watch the game, they're probably going to be pulling for the Fighting Irish. Do you see that as being a massive advantage for them, or will it, traveling to a different stadium, do you think it'll have its disadvantages?
You know, that's a really good question, and I've talked with people who they will say as they put it, the locals, the people who live in that area, really are more. I mean, they will go because it's something different, but it may not give Notre Dame that much of an advantage. I think what will be the number of Notre Dame fans who will be there. Let me say this. I've got a good source over at FSU that, and you know, next year they go over there and they play Georgia Tech. And my sources told me that they could probably sell 50 to 75,000 tickets to that game. There's so much interest as far as Florida State is going. So this is going to continue to be a venue that a lot of fans like over the next few years. But you know, I mean, I'm certainly not saying it couldn't be for Notre Dame being there, but I think the fans may be just more amused at watching the game, and that this is so different for them as much as it would be zeroing in on rooting for Notre Dame.
Brent Beard joining us on the show. Brent, have you made official your college football playoff picks and predictions yet?
No, I'm going to do that next week. We've got, or early next week, because we need to do it before Thursday, obviously, particularly with the Gators playing. And I'm not saying the Gators are going to be in my playoff situation, but Utah certainly is well thought of. So that is supposed to come in. We've got a deadline to get that done at the first of next week. Yes.
How about that? So that means, Brent, we're not getting any of those today then, right?
Well, unfortunately, I'm still trying to figure out where I want to go with some of this.
Gotcha.
This is not. Listen, this is not an easy year, is it, Mark?
No.
And let me throw this in there. Think about what this is going to be next year when we go to the 12-team playoff. And let me also throw this in there just for fun, is people need to realize there is a real possibility that tomorrow, if we can advance, if we go on the time warp and advance a year from now, tomorrow may be the start for everybody, not just week 0, but everybody, because they have talked for a while. That is a possibility because they've got to play so many new games and more games next year that you're going to back up the season a week. So don't be shocked if when we're talking this time next year that we're previewing the opener for everybody and not just week 0.
And, I think we're going to have a lot of, how Brent, like Joe Lunardi does the bracketology for college basketball. I think we're going to have a lot of those. And if you can nail, the person that nails 9 or 10 of the 12 playoff teams before the year begins is going to be kind of a Nostradamus relative to me, Brent. I'm just a Nostradamus. So there's a difference between the two of them, but I'm the worst. I'm the worst of the two, my friend. Certainly the worst of the two. So let's get to what you said about the weddings, Brent. This is incredible.
Yes.
We did this as a topic earlier this week. Now, Brent, I don't know that I feel like I can comment on this too much because I did get married in the fall. Okay, I got married last fall. However, you guys have seen and heard the reason for that is that we wanted Angela's dad to be there for the wedding, and he ended up passing away at the end of April, and so we we would not have been able to get married this spring anyway. So it worked out. It worked out in terms of having him there at the wedding. But Brent, this is just exhibit 3,637. How we are losing the battle of the sexes with the women. What man is letting his woman do this, Brent? What is going on here? How do you feel about this?
Well, again, the thing Mark and I are talking about is that they figure out the most popular wedding date is September the 23rd, and that on that day is Florida State at Clemson, Ohio State at Notre Dame, Ole Miss at Alabama, and Iowa at Penn State, and also SMU at TCU. Now, there's two things here. One, obviously, it would be, why in the world do you want to get married in the fall? And number two, now look at that, Mark, look at that date. It's September 23rd. It's basically a month from now. I mean, in all earnestness, is it going to be much cooler a month from now on September the 23rd than it is now? And look, I know y'all probably had a brutal summer like we have also, but I think what happens is, and I get some of it, but women, they get to fantasizing about the ceremony and the wedding, and let's have this in the early fall, thinking that we're going to be, people are going to be in light jackets and beautiful leaves are going to be falling everywhere, when you and I both know that's not the case, right?
Not at all. No, it's going to be brutal, and you're going to have no one paying attention to your wedding.
Absolutely.
And, you know what I'm saying? So, that should be your day. No exceptions,
yes.
Right? So schedule at a time when people can be there, not just in body, but in mind. Okay?
Yes.
Please.
Yes.
Schedule that for us. Hawaii against Vanderbilt, Brent. Do you get the sense that Vanderbilt is taking a step forward under Clark Lee? Do they win this one?
Yes, they do. As a matter of fact, I do a podcast with a great friend named Travis Ryer, who is up there. He is basically covering the game, and what he has said is, and see, we just had SEC media days in Nashville. What he's saying is, they are refurbishing the stadium, and how he described it was, because they went to the stadium yesterday, would be you basically on a football field in the middle of a construction site. They are redoing that stadium, so you can really right now, believe it or not, only fit about 23,000 people into the stadium at Vanderbilt. Now, Vandy blitzed them last year, and I think they'll probably do it again because Hawaii is on the move. They're getting better. Timmy Chang has done a good job there, but they've only got so many players. See, they're only taking 60 players on this trip, not your normal 85, just because it takes so long to get there. And A.J. Swan's a good quarterback. They love this little freshman, Cedric Alexander, who is going to be there. Now, Hawaii's defense allowed 212 yards rushing last year. Then that basically means nothing this year. But, Mark, if you can be 5-7 like Clark Lee was with them last year, I mean, if they're around 500, don't they put up a statue of Clark Lee after a certain period of time? I mean, that would be unbelievable if they're able to maintain that kind of consistency, would it not?
It really would be incredible, and we will see if they take that next step this year. Brent, what are you hearing? ACC expansion, Cal, Stanford, and perhaps SMU. I was reading, Brent, that the boosters at SMU offered to pony up $200 million over 5 years so that they wouldn't have to be paid by the ACC.
Yes.
Just get us into a major conference and we'll pay you. Why did the ACC initially vote this down, and what is causing a change of heart?
I think they were a little bit. I think the president, and again, the presidents make decisions here, and you've got to have 12 of 15 in order to do it. The reason they voted it down in the beginning was they were not sure if they were going to get any more real money out of this than what they've got right now. And if you add 3 teams, is that going to make their slice of the pie even smaller? Well, what has happened is there have been some meetings, and if what we understand, ESPN is going to offer up some more money in order to make this happen. But your point with SMU, and people read that and they're amazed at it, but that SMU is willing to forego any kind of revenue from the league for that, the first 7 years. But obviously what you said, it certainly goes along with the reports, and that makes some of that kind of even when you look at it. But this may happen this weekend. And I'm going to be careful here. They haven't voted yet, but they do think they may have turned some of these schools in order for that to happen. But I'm still going to be curious, and I'm sure you are too, as far as what Clemson and Florida State do in this situation. I don't think, and what I've read, expansion is not going to do anything to the grant of rights to make anything different with that. But again, money rules all, and they found out that this would indeed give them some more money into the coffers. So that is why that I think the powers to be who want this to pass are thinking that Clemson and Florida State may be okay with them coming in because everybody would get some more money.
This next thing, Brent, is something I've proposed today. I think it would be a massive hit because of finances. Nobody in this country agrees to it, but they've made it work in England. And that is, of course, promotion and relegation. Where in the English Premier League, Brent, the bottom 3 teams in the top minor league, let's call it AAA. I believe it's called not the Champions League, but I'm trying to remember what the top minor league division in England is called. But they move up to the English Premier League. The bottom 3 teams in the English Premier League move down to the minor league. And I was thinking about, now that we are, consolidating to 4 conferences, now that there's all this momentum for the group of 5 to have their own national championship, what if we had true minor league, major league relationships, as we see with other minor league teams, Brent, in college football? The Big Ten would be linked to the MAC, same geographical area. The Sun Belt could be linked to the SEC, the ACC to Conference USA, and the Big 12 to the American Conference. What about, Brent, just the champion of the Group of 5 league moves up, and the last place team from the Power 5 league moves down? Mark, you're going to have a hard time getting Vanderbilt to agree to that every single year. But I'll tell you, Brent, I'm not so sure if Vanderbilt was relegated that they'd make it back to the SEC from the Sun Belt anytime soon.
Well, it depends on how many sports. I mean, if it's just football, and we're just pretending here, that may not happen. I mean, they've had some success in basketball and baseball particularly. But listen, I've heard that idea bounced around over the last couple of weeks more than I ever thought it might be. But to your point, Two, what is really happening here is we're eventually going to where we're really in the have and the have-nots. I don't care, and I don't know what the number is going to be, 60, 64, 50 of the Power 5 schools that end up in one tier, and the bottom tier or the next tier down would be your non-Power 5s. But I will say this on behalf of the non-Power 5s, and I do have a real place in my heart for those schools. I really do think, Mark, the day's coming, it may be 20 years down the road, to where there is that kind of division, and the non-Power 5s are able to get together their own playoffs and be able to kind of fend more for themselves. And if they could get some real money out of that, and there'd be some real interest from people, that might be worth really looking at. So, listen, Mark, at this point, what we've seen, brother, over the last 2 or 3 years, I don't think we can rule anything out, can we?
Brent, and think of, in an otherwise down year, right? Like Florida might be facing a down year here, right? If Florida is 4-6 with 2 games remaining in the current system, what's the incentive to watch versus, oh man, we're all in. We got to sell out. We've got to avoid relegation to the Sun Belt, right? I mean, I just think it's another way to maintain interest in otherwise down seasons to avoid relegation. I think fans would sign up for that. We're going to sign up for your notes, Brent, and all of your great content. We invite you to follow him on Twitter at Brent Beard, Beaird. Your fan club, Brent, is growing. It is always massive over here, and we appreciate you, buddy. Next week, we'll be ready for week 1.
And I'm guessing when Diesel comes back, you'll be expecting a report on venue, food, ceremony, and congratulate him because the wedding happened before the football season, right, Mark?
100%. 100%. Hey, Brent, have a great weekend, buddy.
You too, brother. Take care.
All right, take care. Our buddy Brent Beard, Heisman Trophy voter, previewing the first week of the college football season. Okay, coming up next on the show. If Clemson or South Carolina falls short of expectation this season, it will be because of blank. We'll fill it in next here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. Sitting in, we are the Fan Upstate. Little programming reminder. I've got a busy weekend in front of me, my friends. Looking forward to it, of course. Tomorrow, CBS Sports Radio, I will be on from noon to 5. And Sunday, I will be on from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. So making the double dip, pulling double duty, and excited about it, man. Really, really excited about it. Guys, you guys know I bring you into my feelings, right? Into my feelings, my vibe, what's going on. Like in that kind of environment, right? And I haven't spoken a lot about this, right? But it's like, Odie, my whole career, right? Like I dreamed of being asked to do things like on the network, right? And I got one opportunity back in like 2010. And then I got one show back in 2018, and back in 2021, 2 years ago, they gave me an audition. All right. And you didn't get one show and necessarily do poorly, but it was just kind of a one-off, right? They were going to have you on one time. I got an opportunity November of 2021, and it was described to me as an audition, and like you really never hear that, Mark, we really like this segment. This segment needs to be better. You really never get like the constructive feedback. The feedback that you get is that they keep asking you. You know what I'm saying? So I never know, for example, if these shows are going to be my last shows, and I have that feeling in my gut every single time that like, man, if you suck today, right, this could be your last show with them. Or it could have nothing to do with you, and they're changing the formatting, the way they do things here and there. During the NFL season, they have an 8-hour NFL show from 12 to 8, which reduces the opportunities that you have. But like they keep asking me, and like, guys, why do you think they keep asking me? Like, I'm asking you. That's not a rhetorical question. I'm curious. Like, why do you think they keep asking me? And I'm incredibly excited about it. Like I'm really, really pumped up about it. And this week they asked me if I wanted a double dip. Next weekend, I will be on from 5 to 10 p.m. First college football Saturday of the year. So all I can tell you guys is like, I'm tickled, like it's an honor. I pinch me and I won't believe it's actually happening. You know what I'm saying? Let's get to Delvin, who's been hanging patiently on the line right now. Hey, Delvin, sorry about the wait, brother, but really I do appreciate you hanging on. What's good, man? Long time no talk.
Man, I've been dealing with my mom. She's in a wheelchair, so I've been taking care of her.
I'm sorry to hear that, Delvin. I'm sorry to hear that.
Good to hear from you, man. You said why you keep getting called back? Because you're good at what you do, man.
Oh, thank you,
That's
brother.
why. Man, I like your plan. I like your idea, like with the whole like Conference USA and all that. I love your idea more. I don't think the only question would be what would we do with the Mountain West though? That would be the only problem. I don't know if you like have teams from the FCS and the West Coast jump into their league or something like that. I don't know how we would do that though. And are you still doing upset picks this year? Because my goal is to do a segment with you guys, man, to win that thing this year.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Well, absolutely, we're doing the upset picks this year, and they start next week. Brandon Gibson, by the way, on your point, Delvin,
Next Wednesday.
We're going to announce that next week. Okay, we'll announce it next week, but stay tuned. We'll repeat a lot on the show. Brandon Gibson, by the way, tweets into the show, Delvin. He says, I believe the Mountain West is a better conference overall than the MAC and Conference USA, so I'd swap it as a feeder for one of those two conferences. Mountain West would have been the perfect feeder for the Pac-12, but the Pac-12 is no longer. That would have been a perfect feeder system.
Yeah, you can't get the other four schools and dissolve into the Mountain West. That's not the point of your whole idea that you got.
That's exactly right. Man, you're 100% and totally and exactly right. Delvin, can you please extend well wishes from us to your mom? Please let her know that we're thinking of her, and I thank you for being such an awesome son to her. And Delvin loves my idea for promotion and relegation in college football, where you have a feeder team, you have a minor league group of 5 league for every Power 5. You got it, Delvin. Appreciate it. So I've got the MAC as the feeder, as the minor league for the Big Ten. I've got the Sun Belt as the minor league for the SEC. I've got the Big 12 as, The MAC is the minor league for the Big Ten. The Sun Belt is the minor league for the SEC. Conference USA is the minor league for the ACC. And the American Conference is the minor league for the Big 12. Every single year, the champion of the Group of Five league moves up to the Power Five, and the worst team in the Power Five moves down. One team a year, promotion to relegation. You tell me that wouldn't have you watching Vanderbilt against Mississippi State at the end of November. Tell me it wouldn't. It would be fascinating television. It would give, even if your team is having a down year, like if we had relegation, I'd be biting my nails a little bit about Florida right now. I'm like, man, have you seen our schedule? Vanderbilt is getting better. Is it out of the realm? Vanderbilt beat us last year. Is it out of the realm of possibility Florida could be the last place team in the SEC and get bumped down to the Sun Belt? And then imagine for a moment Florida did get bumped down to the Sun Belt. Is there any guarantee they would win the Sun Belt the following year? You go down to the Sun Belt for a year, you get Sun Belt money for a year. You go up to the SEC for a year, you get SEC money for a year. That's how it works. What do you think? That is my idea. Texter says, all right, Mark, when the Shamecocks slip to the Sun Belt, where do they go after finishing bottom 3 out of there? Gamecock fans, are you going to let them get away with that? We have a texter who says, when you guys get demoted to the Sun Belt, where do you get shipped down to after you finish in the bottom 3 in the Sun Belt? All right. You, sir, get shipped to the Greenville County Flag Football League. That's where the Gamecocks would end up next. I kid because I care. All right. If Clemson and South Carolina fall short of their potential this year, it will be because of what? That is next. This is Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel. Odie sitting in here on the Fan Upstate. It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel Odie sitting in. And we are the Fan Upstate rolling on until 7 o'clock p.m. today. Truly do appreciate you making us part of your day and part of your afternoon. So, I do want to share this with you. I was thinking about this today, right? Like, what is Clemson's potential this year? I think Clemson's potential this year is to make the college football playoff, maybe even win a game in the college football playoff. All right, I think that's Clemson's potential. South Carolina's potential, what is their potential? To me, it would have to be all the way up to about 9-3. Like the ceiling, the potential would be 9-3, right? The potential for my Florida Gators might be something as bad as 7-5, or worse. That might be what we're looking at this year. But if you ask yourself the question, okay, if Clemson fails to hit their potential, if they fail to make the CFP, it's going to be because of what? Like, what happened? If South Carolina scuffles around to 6-6 or 7-5, it will be because what happened? Like, what led them there? I value your input on this question. 71307 on the carpro.com text line. Just start your text with the word fan, and away you go on the show. Texter says relegation won't work due to scheduling. Change the schedule. Change it. You bump down, you're now in the Sun Belt. You play the Sun Belt schedule. You got to have out clauses of these games. You got to have them. You can keep your non-conference schedule the same. You just switch your conference play. Okay? It's what you got to do. We don't know the dates for the games next year. Alex Rowe says, Mark, I love the idea. It adds intrigue. Thank you, Alex. Even though, Alex, you enjoyed Odie singing, but not my own. All right. Texter says, Mark, the Gamecocks would have won the ACC last year. All these Clemsonites need to hush. Would South Carolina have won the ACC last year? I'm going to go with no. They did finish 8-5, 8-4 in the regular season. And I do appreciate that they beat Clemson. I certainly do, right? I value that. I appreciate that. At the same time, you're saying, well, because they beat Clemson, they wouldn't have laid an egg at any other point during the season. And that's the thing that I just don't believe, Texter. Like, I don't believe South Carolina was ready last year in any conference to do something like running the table. I don't believe they were there. Do you guys believe, would South Carolina have won the ACC last year? If you got the South Carolina, if you got end of season South Carolina, they very well could have. Very well could have, right? But I'm not sure that you would have gotten end of season South Carolina right at the beginning of the year. And, like an NC State type of team or maybe a Wake Forest type of team early on in the year would have clipped you, Maybe the win over Clemson would have gotten you into the ACC championship game. But, yeah, I do think it's fair to say that an 8-4 team in the SEC could have had one or two losses, right? Could have had one or two losses in the ACC. I think that's fair. So if South Carolina fails to reach their potential, it will be because what happened? It'll be because the lines have not gotten better. The offensive line and the defensive line. South Carolina was the only team in college football last year, folks, that had a winning record and were outside of the top 100 in rush offense and rush defense. I'm not going to say it was luck that they had a winning record with that, but I don't think they can produce that again. All right. They're going to fail to hit their potential if Dowell Loggins and Spencer Rattler don't hit the ground running. If there are growing pains, if they get a slow start, they don't have an opponent in North Carolina that they can get off to a slow start against, right? Like you're not warming up with your schedule this year. You're starting with a big one right out of the gate. Let's be honest. I mean, how many points is it going to take to beat North Carolina? I'm going to go 30. 30 points to beat them. So are you ready to score 30 points as an offense? That is what we're going to see. Does Spencer Rattler start? Do we get November Spencer Rattler, or do we get September and October Spencer Rattler? Okay? If it's the former, the Gamecocks don't hit their potential. If there's no running game, the Gamecocks do not hit their potential. And if they don't get pressure on the quarterback and can't protect the quarterback, the Gamecocks do not hit their potential. How about the Clemson Tigers? If Clemson fails to make the college football playoff, fails to win the ACC, it will be because what? It will be because Cade Klubnik is closer to DJ Uiagalelei than he is Taj Boyd or Trevor Lawrence. He has got to be closer to those guys than DJ for Clemson to take the next step. Like South Carolina, how long does it take this new offense to get untracked? I'm hearing great things from Clemson's camp right now about how the offense looks. You notice I'm not mentioning squat about the defense, but I do think there is one. Xavier Thomas has got to stay healthy on that side of the ball. For once, he's got to be healthy. The back seven, linebackers and safety, might be the best back seven in college football. The linebacker core is the best linebacker core in all of college football. All right? So you know that about this team. Barrett Carter, Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Is Xavier Thomas going to stay healthy? And then finally, for me, Clemson will not reach their potential this year if a number one wide receiver does not step forward. You know, one of the trivia questions yesterday in this block of time was, when is the last time Clemson had a 1,000-yard receiver? And this was achieved barely, but it was by Amari Rodgers in 2020. Barely achieved. I think he had 1,021 yards or something, right? That's an important stat, right? Because it shows you that you've had a number one develop. You have a go-to guy develop. It's not just about the number. So is it going to be Bo Collins? Is Antonio Williams going to be the Percy Harvin Swiss Army knife? And is Bo Collins going to be the number one? Is Adam Randall going to be the number one? Or is another freshman going to come and break onto the scene like a Noble Johnson? Clemson needs a number one wide receiver. Clemson needs the Garrett Riley offense to click sooner rather than later with what they have on the schedule in September. Florida State coming. Clemson needs Cade Klubnik to be closer to Deshaun Watson than to DJ Uiagalelei. And Clemson needs Xavier Thomas to stay healthy. You do all four of those things, you have every single shot to reach your potential this year. You fail in any of those areas, and you might not win the ACC. And believe you me, folks, the ACC in a 14 playoff has either one spot or 0 spots. They don't get 2. Believe you me when I tell you that. Winning the ACC is a prerequisite for going to the college football playoff. Clemson goes if they fulfill those obligations. South Carolina goes if they fulfill theirs. Texter says, Mark, I really don't think South Carolina would have won the ACC. They would have made it interesting, but I do not think they would have won it. What say you guys about that? All right, my friends, we've got the top 5 at 5 coming your way next, right here on the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel with Odie sitting in right here on the Fan Upstate. What's good, my friends? This is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere. It's Offsides. Marc Ryan and Diesel with Odie sitting in here on the Fan Upstate, rolling on until 7 p.m. College football is here again. Fantastic, man. I wish we had like more of a halfway decent game. And I'm saying this, Odie, not to offend you, because the game is being played in your homeland.
Yeah,
right?
in the Aviva Stadium in Dublin's
Have you been there?
Fair City many times.
You have.
I got to watch Ireland absolutely annihilate the Springboks, which is South Africa. They hammered, this was the best one, they hammered England on St. Patrick's Day in Ireland. It just doesn't get any better than that. I mean, we're already at the match. Guinness has been flowing, and then we just trounce the English. I mean, the place, it actually, the ground lifted. It exploded. It was
Nice
the first.
stadium? Do you like it?
It's 2010. It was rebuilt. It was previously known as Lansdowne Road, and it was rebuilt. It was made a bit bigger, very futuristic. It's fantastic. Not as big as the stadiums we have over here. Even the college football. I mean, Clemson is what, 80,000. I think it's 80,000 in Clemson, but it's one of Ireland's biggest stadiums. But then again, Ireland isn't a very massive country, so but the stadium's big. 51,000 people can fit in it. It is a world-class stadium.
That's incredible. That is absolutely positively incredible. And now if Navy pulls the upset, erase what I'm saying, please, right now. Okay, but I don't expect that to happen. And then you kind of look at the rest of these games on the slate for tomorrow, and I'm not sure that there's one that really grabs me. Like Hawaii and Vanderbilt is interesting. We'll have a feel for how good or bad Vanderbilt is this year as a result of that. And if we watch USC and Caleb Williams, are the San Jose State Spartans going to stop them a single time against the Heisman Trophy winner? Are they going to get a single stop in that game? Of course, I am jacked up about Florida and Utah next week. That is next Thursday night. But, it's a warm-up. It's an appetizer weekend for college football, right? We get to work out the kinks of all of our coverage, man, and we are excited about that. Where can you hear Hawaii and Vanderbilt? Right here on the Fan Upstate tomorrow night. Can you believe it? All right, what do you say we get to that jam? We call it the Top 5 at 5. The top 5 biggest sports stories of the day, the top 5 topics we're discussing. Ladies and gentlemen of the Upstate, Offsiders, the Top 5 at 5 starts right now. Hit it. All right, at number 5 on the show today, Anthony Richardson looking better than some might have expected. Last night did very well, and he did the little fly, Eagles fly, flopping of his wings when Anthony Richardson scored a touchdown against the Philadelphia Eagles. After the game, Anthony himself critiqued his own performance.
Honestly, I didn't know I threw the ball that many times. I did see a couple of missed throws from me, a couple of drops from the team, but that's just all with reps and preparation, going into the season. We're going to continue to build on it, keep taking shots because we like to play aggressive, we like to play fast, so just keep taking shots. Just try to find ways to click on all cylinders and just connect with each other, so we can have this offense being explosive.
I predict, my friends, that there could be a lot of you telling me I was wrong about Anthony Richardson. I'm a Florida Gator. Why would I have been wrong about him? Oh, Mark, did you say he was going to be great and he's not? No, it was the reverse of that. I said, man, this guy is more raw than sushi, and I'd never take him with a top 5 pick. So why might you guys be telling me I'm wrong? Well, because he's got Shane Steichen. What did Shane Steichen do in Philadelphia? Oh, he took another supremely raw quarterback, Jalen Hurts, and he made him into an MVP candidate. Folks, your success in the NFL has so much more to do with the situation that you're in than it does your actual ability. Anthony Richardson has a ton of ability, very raw, and he's got a brilliant head coach, maybe even a savant. Might Anthony Richardson be that dude? Next up, At number 4, we've asked you guys today, if Clemson and South Carolina fall short of their potential this year, it'll be because blank. Well, Clemson's potential is to make the college football playoff and maybe win a game there. I don't think Clemson wins a national championship this year, but I do think they could make the CFP. So if they make the CFP, they have reached their potential. What would prevent them from getting there? Well, if Cade Klubnik is closer to DJ Uiagalelei than he is to Deshaun or Trevor Lawrence, they need him to be closer to the medal stand of gold medal Deshaun Watson, silver medal Trevor Lawrence, bronze medal Taj Boyd. If a number 1 receiver does not emerge, who is it going to be? Bo Collins, Antonio Williams, Adam Randall? If Xavier Thomas does not stay healthy, because for the first time in a long time, it is the defensive line that might be the weakest cog on that defense. Back 7 might be the best in all of college football. The linebacking core, Barrett Carter, Jeremiah Trotter Jr., is the best in college football. On South Carolina's side, what is their potential? I'd say their ceiling might be 9-3. What would prevent them from getting there? If they don't improve on the lines, the offensive line and defensive line. Last year, they were the only team in CFB to have a winning record and not be in the top 100 in either rush offense or rush defense. You're not going to get that lucky again, man. South Carolina fails to reach its potential if first half of the year Spencer Rattler shows up, not second half of the year Spencer Rattler. How would that happen? Well, that happens if the new offense under Dowell Loggins isn't clicking right away. Who is the running back going to be? Can DK be that dude all year long? Can he be a 1,000-yard back for you? Right? Those are some of the questions I have for South Carolina. They will not achieve their potential if any of those things are not corrected or amended or fixed. How would you answer that question? Clemson reaches their potential if. South Carolina reaches their potential if. Next up. Folks, it has been a tremendously fun weekend, fun week working with Odie. He has done a fantastic job. By the way, Odie, I shouldn't tell you this, but I did send a kind word about you to the boss man today. You know, I give the boss man kind of a weekly update at the end of the week, things I've been working on behind the scenes, everything like that. And I did mention, I said, Odie is going the extra mile personified. That's what he is. So thank you, Odie, for all the great work on the show this week. And I know you wanted to say something to the Offsiders as well.
Yeah, so I just want to say thank you very much to all of the Offsiders listening in, everybody on the stream, and everybody that's been texting in all the kind words. You make it so easy to work here. I mean, the input from the fans is amazing, input from the listeners. So as I said, it is my last day today. Just for now. Diesel's back, obviously. He's going to slot straight back in where he was. And I'm going to be over on our sister station, News Talk 98.9. So you can catch me there next week. I'll be looking after Charlie. And you can always catch me on Saturday nights on News Talk 98.9.
There you go.
So thanks very much.
Very good.
And thank you, Mark, for having me and putting up with me.
Oh, come on, Ellie. Thanks for putting up with me, man. Admittedly, this is not the easiest show to work on if people aren't familiar with how we do things here. But Odie adapts and adjusts really well. You got a great attitude, man. I love you on the air. Love your sense of humor. And you got to show us. You got to let our audience know where we can see one of your comedy bits. You know? Oh
yeah. Not next Thursday night. I'll be working, but the following Thursday I hope to be in Greenville. And there's more. I'll let people know more information as I get it.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. Cannot wait for that. Odie Comedy Tour is coming your way right here in the Upstate. Great to have you, pal. Thanks so much for all you did this week on the show. Next up. So I unveiled today an idea that I have to make college football even better than it is. Let's be honest. The momentum for college football is not headed in the right direction. So how about we incorporate promotion and relegation soccer style to college football? You laugh, you say there's no way, folks. Crazier things have happened this offseason already in college football. And believe you me, it is being discussed. You could have a minor league for every Power 5 league out there. Obviously, the Big Tens would be the MAC. It's the same geographical region. The MAC literally is minor league for the Big Ten. The Sun Belt could be the minor league for the SEC. Conference USA could be the minor league for the ACC, and the Big 12 can be the major league for the American Conference. It's a shame the Pac-12 is now dissolved because the Mountain West would have been a perfect feeder system to them. Now I don't know what to make of the Mountain West. I don't know who they would be the minor league of. But here's my idea, folks. Every year in college football, the last place team in the Power 5 gets bumped down to the Group of 5, and the champion of the Group of 5 conference gets bumped up to the Power 5. Just one team per league. What does this do for the league? Well, if you look at my team this year, the Florida Gators, we're not supposed to be very good. Vanderbilt's supposed to be better. If my team is 4-6 with 2 games remaining and Vanderbilt is 3-7, suddenly I'm really interested because I do not want the humiliation of being relegated. Furthermore, knowing where my program is, if Florida was relegated to the Sun Belt, can you even guarantee that Florida would win the Sun Belt the following year? Well, I'm not so sure, and I'm somewhat embarrassed to say that. If you win the league, you get promoted. If you're last place, you get demoted. What do you make of my promotion relegation idea? Is that change you can believe in? And finally, I've come to a realization on something, all right? And that is that the tandem of Will Shipley and Phil Maffa is the best running back tandem in college football. Do you remember when the New York Giants had Tiki Barber and Ron Dane? Do you remember what they were called? They were called Thunder and Lightning. I think that's what Clemson has right now. Will Shipley is the Lightning. Phil Maffa is the Thunder. As a matter of fact, that Imagine Dragons song should be their credo this year. Lightning be the thunder, thunder. Right? That should be their song this year. They are the best tandem in college football. And I think you're going to see it. And it isn't that Cade Klubnik isn't capable of throwing the ball all over the pitch. DJ Uiagalelei was not. But I think when you have a new quarterback and a new offensive system, you want to lean more on the part of the offense that's going to be super productive without turning the football over. Those are those two guys. Will Shipley's got a big challenge in front of him this year. He's got to go from good to great. He's been good, but has Will Shipley been great his first few seasons in Clemson? I wouldn't say he has. The opportunity is right now. Okay? Lightning be the thunder. Will Shipley, Phil Maffa, according to yours truly, the number one running back tandem in college football. And those are today's top 5 at 5. Now it's your chance to chime in, which you can do at 844-FAN-PHONE. That's 844-FANFONE. That's 844-326-3663. The CarPro.com text line is there for you at 71307. Just start your text with the word fan and away you go. You can get to us on Facebook, on Twitter, and on YouTube at The Fan Upstate on every one. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to us on YouTube. And finally, email. You guys can all email the show. Marc Ryan, that is M-A-R-C Ryan at thefanupstate.com. All the different ways you can get in touch with us here on the most interactive sports radio show anywhere. Let's see what you guys are saying. Texter says, does Odie have a Twitter? He does not.
I have a fan Facebook one. It's Odie_Fitzgerald, and they can get me on there. So
there you go.
If they want to.
There you go. Very, very, very good. Texter says, I don't know where you found Odie, but he somehow needs to be a staple on the fan. He is great. I'm sure he's a hoot after a few Guinnesses.
Well, two things. They found me under a load of shamrocks, and I don't drink. Yeah,
Good for you.
Yeah, I'm a non-drinker.
How long has that been the case?
9 years.
Good for you.
I didn't give up because I had to give up or anything like that. And more power to anybody out there that has gone on that journey and come out the far side. smelling of roses. But no, I didn't, because I didn't want to. I didn't like myself when I was in that state of mind and condition. So I just said, nah, as we say in Ireland, it doesn't suit you. So I just stopped. I knew what I was becoming, and I stopped.
He gave himself one good flick in the plums, and that was it.
Yep,
that was it for drinking.
That was it, exactly.
Text Grant in Five Forks says, Mark, Edwards and Corum. Blake Corum, Michigan, would have something to say about that running back tandem. The Michigan duo is probably the best in the country. Second best, Grant, to the one at Clemson. I mean no offense. Texter says, Mark, if Clemson fails to reach their potential, it'll probably be because of their D-line or because Florida State lives up to their potential. Florida State isn't living up to squat, okay? They're not living up to squat. Trust me when I tell you that. And knocks the Tigers off. Carolina will simply be inconsistent from Rattler. If Carolina doesn't reach their potential, it'll be because Rattler's inconsistent. If Clemson doesn't reach their potential, it'll be because the D-line has fallen off quite a bit. They have lost quite a bit on the defensive line. Miles Murphy, Brian Brzee, etc. Okay, my friends. And by the way, a texter says, Mark, you mentioned Antonio Williams. They want him to be their Percy Harvin. How great would Percy Harvin have been if he didn't have such severe migraines in his career? Yeah, Trey, sucks. Because you saw his greatness, right? You saw it on display in the Super Bowl, and you could see it right away freshman year. He had a gear. His superpower, Percy Harvin, was acceleration. Okay? Because when you and I change directions, we slow down considerably. Percy Harvin could make a right angle and not have the speedometer go down by 1. Okay? Like it's not physically possible to do what he was doing, and that made him great. He'd put his foot in the ground, he would change direction, no speed would leave him, and suddenly he's wide open. He was quite literally one of one, and he couldn't stay healthy, was a wee bit uncoachable, and had the migraine issue, which is a problem. I've never had a migraine, and of course, by me saying that now, I'm sure I'm going to get one, right?
You don't ever want one.
You guys on the stream can see that I've got like some seborrhea dermatitis on my face right now. People always say, Mark, do you have a sunburn? No, man, it's just seborrhea dermatitis, and I don't know what causes it. I don't know how it comes, where it comes from, right? But Rhodey, I've never had a migraine. Like I don't know what that is like.
Yeah, I've had many, but you see these lovely round things on my face now. Yep, they've stopped them. So it was all
glasses stopped them.
It was all due to my vision, and my glasses now have a blue filter in them as well. So yeah, I haven't had a migraine since I have my glasses, and they completely incapacitated me. There was nothing I could do. It was lie down, dark room, cover my eyes, and hope it goes away soon.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's brutal. All right, my friends, coming up next on the show, what would you say if I gave you a statistical projection for Cade Klubnik and Spencer Rattler this coming season? That, my friends, is next. And this is the most interactive sports talk show anywhere.